I made it to the North Carolina State Capitol. Here I am in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I'm excited to bring you the North Carolina State Capitol. The North Carolina State Capitol is the former seat of the legislature of the U.S. state of North Carolina, which housed all the state government until about 1888. In 1888, the Supreme Court and the State Library moved to their own building. And in 1963, the State General Assembly moved into their own building or their own legislative building. Today, only the governor and his or her immediate staff occupies the building. So as usual, I'm gonna walk outside the state capitol, and then I'm gonna make my way inside the state capitol. And while I'm walking outside the state capitol on the Capitol complex, I want to show as many of the monuments as I can. So without further delay, let's go ahead and get started.
The North Carolina State Capitol is located in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is home to about 500,000 residents. North Carolina's General Assembly, originally called the General Court, first met in 1715 in various locations before a permanent capital was established. In 1792, Raleigh was chosen as the state's capital, and it was named after Sir Walter Raleigh, who sponsored early English colonization efforts.
One thing that stands out immediately behind me, you'll see that the wings are not extended. So I imagine that's a function of the state already having it in its plans to move the legislative building in 1963, because otherwise you would see an extension of the east and west wings so that all of the legislative body could fit.
The North Carolina State Capitol's grounds features several historical statues and monuments. They had several more, but in 2020, many were removed due to their link and controversy to the Confederate Army in the Civil War. The first State House, which was built in 1796, served until it burned down in 1831 due to a fire caused by roofing repairs. The current North Carolina State Capitol was completed in 1840. The Capitol housed the General Assembly up until 1963, when legislative functions moved to the new North Carolina Legislative Building. Today, the Capitol remains the official seat of the governor's office and a historic landmark, which is open for public tours.
Alright, so I'm done walking around the Capitol complex, and it's actually quite smaller than I originally thought. It only took me a few minutes because the building is centered on its own block, and there's just a street around the building with all of the monuments sitting on the same block of the building. So now that I've made my way around the Capitol complex, I'm gonna make my way inside the building and bring you inside of the North Carolina State Capitol.
The centerpiece of the North Carolina State Capitol is a copy of the original statue of George Washington, which was displayed in the original State House but burned down. It features Washington in a Roman general's uniform. Around the statue and the rotunda are plaques and busts that honor notable people and events in North Carolina's history. The House chambers served the 120-member House of Representatives, who were initially known as the House of Commons, from 1840 to 1961. The Senate chamber served a 50-member Senate until 1961 and resembles a Grecian temple in the Ionic style.
Alright, so that's the inside of the North Carolina State Capitol, and unfortunately the wing of the governor's office, even though it's not accessible, was shut down because they're doing renovations there. Because I'm not quite satisfied, I'm going to go to the legislative building and see if I can get some footage there. Alright, so as you can see, the state capitol is behind me, and I've walked across the street, and in between this street that I'm in right now is one of the history museums, and then some other building, I don't know what it is. So now I'm standing outside the new legislative building, and in the distance, about 2 blocks over, is the old state capitol, and here is the legislative building. So let's see what we can go and get some footage of. Unfortunately, the doors to both chambers are locked, so I can't really get a good close-up of the chambers, but from where I'm standing and looking inside, it's really nice. Even though the building was built in, 1963, it still looks great. And of course, as I was coming up the stairs, they prevent people from walking on the red carpet, which is good because it keeps the carpet red. Before I leave this building, I was told that I must check out the outside beautiful rooftop gardens. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And then that will wrap up the tour of the North Carolina State Capitol. All right, so that wraps up my video of the North Carolina State Capitol, and It's amazing to be able to wrap it up on this rooftop of the Legislative Building. But anyway, I enjoyed the tour, and now I get to check off another state capitol from my list. And as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and give the video a like, and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to see the rest of the state capitals when I eventually get to them. In the meantime, as always, be safe and go travel. You have everywhere to go see. Peace.